lilamrita, сейчас мы читаем Srila Prabhupada lilamritu. Hare Krishna. Okay. In Russian, anyway, it's okay. Okay, let's see. Let us see. We are in volume 4. We are in chapter 34. Let's see where we are. Where are we in the world? Sorry? We're in Sydney. Right, we're in Sydney. Yeah, I just found the place. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharne Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastya Chadesha Tarne Sri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha. Patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Yes, devotees, we're in Sydney, and Srila Prabhupada is having special program. Installation of Radha Krishna deities and initiation of all the devotees. Anyway, let's read about it. So this one devotee is going to speak Vaibhavi. He initiated everyone in the temple, anyone who was there. Even one boy who had just joined that week and had only come across Krishna consciousness the week before, and people who weren't living in the temple, just anyone who was there and somehow serving. He wanted Krishna consciousness to be established in Australia, so he just initiated everybody. He gave first and second initiations at the same time, because having installed the deities, there had to be some Brahmins. But we didn't know anything. We weren't even ready. The altar wasn't finished. Prabhupada explained to me that we had to string flowers for a garland. The deity was supposed to wear one. They didn't know that. I was running up and down the street trying to find some flowers and get some thread and make a garland. Same with the sacred thread. There were no sacred threads. Srila Prabhupada gave the men a sacred thread at Brahman initiation, but no one really knew what it was. So I had to run and buy some string. And while Prabhupada was initiating people, I was sitting there in the arena making sacred threads, copying the one that Bali Madan had taken off himself. I made 5 of them, and then I was next. After the sacrifice, and after I came out of Prabhupada's room, where he'd given me the Gayatri mantra, The other devotee said, "You're a Brahmin now, so you have to wear a sacred thread too." They told me to make one for myself, which I didn't, because someone told me later a woman wasn't supposed to wear one. We just didn't know much. Sure, that's amazing. Unquote. At Sydney Grammar School, an elite school for boys, Prabhupada led his disciples and a group of students in a kirtan procession through the schoolyard. About 200 boys and several teachers took part, some children frolicking and laughing, some singing the mantra, some soberly following the procession as the teachers smiled and watched. The procession ended in a large room with a row of chairs in the front. Prabhupada sat in the headmaster's elaborately carved throne-like seat in the center and began playing kartals, continuing the chanting of Hare Krishna. Seeing only a few students responding, he stopped and looked around at the children sitting before him. He said, "So, you are all beautiful boys. Why you do not join us in chanting Hare Krishna? Is it very difficult? Will you not try to chant? Hare. Say Hare." A few children, Hare. Prabhupada, all of you chant Hare. The children weakly, Hare. Some giggled. Prabhupada led them through the mantra one word at a time. Still, some children were reticent, reluctant. Prabhupada, there are only 3 words, Hare Krishna and Rama. Is it very difficult? Chant again, Hare. Children, Hare. Teasing and prodding, Prabhupada coaxed them. Oh, you cannot chant? You are all dumb? The children broke into laughter. How is that? 3 words you cannot chant? Oh, that is very astonishing. Chant, Hare, Hare, Krishna, Krishna. Prabhupada began rhythmically ringing his kartals, the children following him as he sang. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. After a short time, Prabhupada brought the kirtan to a close. Sitting in the beautiful ornate chair, he smiled at the children. 3 words, Hare Krishna and Rama. Do you know what God is? Can any of you stand up and tell me what is God? There was silence, then whispering. Finally, one 12-year-old boy stood. His schoolmates applauded and laughed. "Oh, thank you," Prabhupada said. "Come here." The boy approached. "Do you know what is God?" Prabhupada asked. "Yes," the boy replied. "God is self-realization, and God is found in the unconscious mind." "Thank you." Again the children applauded. "No, wait," Prabhupada said. "Now you must explain what you mean. What is self-realization?" "Boy, it is tapping the powers of the unconscious mind and seeing yourself." "Prabhupada, do you think the mind is unconscious?" "Boy, the mind is unconscious." "Prabhupada, To understand the unconscious, you have to find out what is consciousness. Boy, I'm not talking about consciousness, the unconsciousness. Prabhupada, unless you know consciousness, how can you describe unconsciousness? Boy, the unconsciousness, the id. That's sort of Freudian. Prabhupada, unconsciousness is the negative side of consciousness. So you should explain what is consciousness. Then we can understand consciousness. Boy, consciousness? Prabhupada, yes. Try to understand what is consciousness. Then you will understand what is unconsciousness. Consciousness is spread all over the body. Suppose I pinch any part of the body. You feel some pain. That is consciousness. This feeling of pain and pleasure is consciousness. But that consciousness is individual. I cannot feel the pains and pleasures of your body. Neither you can feel the pains and pleasures of my body. Therefore your consciousness is individual and my consciousness is individual. But there is another consciousness who can feel the pains and pleasures of your body and who can feel the pains and pleasures of my body. That is stated in the Bhagavad Gita. You've heard of Bhagavad Gita? You? Any of you? Another boy. Yes. Prabhupada. Who says yes? Please come here. Thank you. Very good. At least one of you knows what is Bhagavad Gita. In Bhagavad Gita it is stated that, and Srila Prabhupada proceeded to explain the difference between the material body and the soul, and between the individual souls and the Supreme Soul, Krishna. You are individual knower of your body. I am knower individually of my body. So everyone is knower of his own body. But there is another person who says, I know everything of everyone's body. Just like I know something of my body, or I know something of this world. Similarly, there's another Atma or soul, supreme Atma, who knows everything of this universe. He is sometimes called God, or the Paramatma, or Krishna, whatever, according to different language. After describing the soul's intimate relationship as an eternal servant of Krishna, and the soul's suffering caused by forgetting that relationship, Prabhupada concluded his lecture. These teachings should be introduced in every school and college, so that from the very beginning, children understand what is God, how great He is, how we're related with God, and how we have to live. So our movement, Krishna Consciousness, is teaching that thing. Don't think that it is a sectarian religion. We are making people God conscious. It doesn't matter to what religion you may belong. If, by following the principles of religion, one becomes advanced in God consciousness, that is first-class religion. That is our motto, and we're preaching all over the world. Therefore, I request your teachers here to make the students from the beginning God conscious. Then their future life will be very peaceful, prosperous, and hopeful. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Prabhupada also agreed to speak at Wayside Chapel, a centre in downtown Sydney, ministering to drug addicts and prostitutes. A wayside sponsor met Prabhupada at the temple and accompanied him to the chapel. The sponsor, a long-haired young man in hippie dress, boasted of how Wayside Chapel helped drug addicts. Prabhupada, however, took it that he was saying the chapel supplied drugs to the addicts. At Wayside Chapel, a skeptic in the audience challenged Prabhupada. Prabhupada had explained that the chanting of the holy names of God was the only way to actually help people. But the cynic challenged, what good actually is this chanting of Hare Krishna? It saves you from death, Prabhupada answered forcibly. May 12th, 1971. In his quarters in Sydney, Prabhupada wrote the preface to the upcoming edition of Bhagavad Gita as it is. The Macmillan Company had now agreed to print the unabridged manuscript. The contract was signed. The book was being readied for printing. Only the preface remained to be written. Because first of all, there was only the abridged Bhagavad Gita, no Sanskrit, all the verses, all the translations of all the verses, and not all the purports. So this is already 1971. They haven't printed the whole Bhagavad Gita. Prabhupada wrote in his preface that although he was known for starting the Krishna consciousness movement in America, actually, quote unquote, the original father of this movement is Lord Krishna himself, unquote. Giving all credit for his own achievements to his spiritual master, Prabhupada said that the only qualification he himself had was that he had tried to present Bhagavad Gita as it is, without adulteration. Instead of satisfying his own personal material senses, he, a person, has to satisfy the senses of the Lord. That is the highest perfection of life. The Lord wants this, and he demands it. One has to understand the central point of Bhagavad Gita. Okay, this is continuing the preface. Yeah. What now? Yes. Our Krishna consciousness movement is teaching the whole world this central point. And because we're not polluting the theme of Bhagavad Gita as it is, anyone seriously interested in deriving benefit by studying the Bhagavad Gita must take help from the Krishna consciousness movement for practical understanding of Bhagavad Gita under the direct guidance of the Lord. We hope, therefore, that people will derive the greatest benefit by studying Bhagavad Gita as it is, as we have presented it here. And if even one man becomes a pure devotee of the Lord, we shall consider our attempt a success. Unquote. As Prabhupada explained in his preface, he was publishing the full Gita manuscript to establish the Krishna consciousness movement more soundly and progressively. He would do this by presenting transcendental literature like Bhagavad Gita, but he would also have to go, as Lord Caitanya has said, to every town and village, either personally or through his agents, his disciples. And wherever he went, he would preach Bhagavad Gita to whoever would listen. tomorrow Prabhupada would leave Australia for a big Pandal festival in Calcutta, then on to Moscow, Paris, Los Angeles, etc. So this is now some quote. Oh, well, no. Yes, Prabhupada's speaking. Well, that's not indicated, but seems to be. Lord Krishna states in Bhagavad Gita that no servant is more dear to him than one who teaches Bhagavad Gita to the devotees. And Prabhupada, in all his activities, whether writing a preface, lecturing to the prostitutes and drug addicts, teaching a disciple to cook chapatis without burning them, or planning grand projects yet to come, was always teaching Bhagavad Gita, and therefore was always the dearest servant of Lord Krishna. Prabhupada stood before the deities of Radha Gopinath with folded hands. After less than a week in Sydney, he was leaving. He knew that the devotees here were not up to the standard required for worshipping Radha and Krishna, and he knew he was taking a risk, entrusting their worship, the deities' worship, to neophyte disciples. Yet, as an empowered acharya, and as the representative of Lord Caitanya, he had to implant Krishna consciousness anywhere it might take root. The world was in desperate need. If his disciples followed the process he'd given them, chanting, hearing, observing regulative principles, he knew they would quickly become purified. He had given an analogy. Although in material life a man must first become a highly qualified lawyer before sitting on the judge's bench, in Krishna consciousness a sincere devotee is first allowed to, quote unquote, to sit on the bench, to become a Brahmin, and later by the mercy of the holy name and the spiritual master, he becomes qualified. The devotees in Sydney, however, were particularly immature, and Prabhupada made an extraordinary request of Radha Gopinath. Now, quote, this is his request, "Now I'm leaving you in the hands of the Malechas. I cannot take the responsibility. You please guide these boys and girls and give them the intelligence to worship you very nicely." Okay, so we'll continue a little further. Calcutta, May 13th, 1971. Prabhupada arrived just in time for the 10-day Calcutta Pandal festival. On his orders, Giriraj and Tamal Krishna had come to organize the festival, just they had done the one in Bombay. Prabhupada had written to Jayapataka Swami, president of ISKCON Calcutta. So this is now, what is it? It's Prabhupada writing, maybe? He'd written. This is the letter he wrote. In the Sankirtan festival, Pandal, if a very big kitchen arrangement can be made, then we shall distribute prasadam daily. Try to make this arrangement. Puri. 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 Wow. It's talking about you. Puri, halava, khichdi, whatever can be arranged as much as possible. Tamal Krishna and Giriraj have all the ideas. Were you making puris yesterday? What were you making? Oh, that you cooked for today. Oh, okay. Okay. Right, let's see. Attendance surpassed that of the Bombay Pandal, with 20 to 30,000 people attending daily, including ministers of parliament and other distinguished speakers. It was one of the biggest religious functions Calcutta had ever seen. The whole city became aware of the strength of the Hare Krishna movement. In the early afternoon, the devotees would begin selling Prabhupada's books from a booth, performing kirtan on stage, and distributing prasadam to the masses. Around 6:30, the evening program would begin with a long, intense kirtan, which would increase in its fervor as Prabhupada arrived for the evening arati before the deities of Radha and Krishna. Prabhupada would lecture sometimes in Bengali and sometimes in English. Afterward, the devotees would show slides of the Krishna consciousness movement around the world, and Prabhupada would answer questions from the audience. After the program, people would push forward to receive a morsel of the prasadam that had been offered to the deity. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All being well, we will carry on tomorrow.